let Rich in. I see people in the waiting room. I think we're good. All right, thanks.
Hello.
We have a few people here. Sorry for my my internet was not working, so I was having.
Oh no, you're frozen. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Good evening. Lydia's here.
Hi, Lydia.
Hi, Lydia.
Hey, guys.
Do we have any? Were we tracking any RSVPs?
I didn't see who signed up or who registered. I know of at least 1 or 2 people that plan to join, so if we start seeing nobody show up, then we know something's wrong.
Okay. Community visioning workshop in 4 minutes. Start or snooze? I don't know what that means because we're already on here and it's already recording.
I think that's for the general public.
Colton, I'm making you a co-host.
Sounds good.
We should. Okay, yeah, that looks like it's popped up.
Yes, I am co-host now, it says. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I got a new
Lydia,
computer. I
did
just
you-
wanted to make sure.
Lydia, did you make changes to the PowerPoint after I last uploaded it a few days ago?
I did. I added notes at the bottom with everybody's assignments. I don't think I made any content changes though. So
Okay, I went off
for the purposes of presenting, I think you're okay if you have your latest.
Not downloading the document.
So
And I have the version from a few days ago.
I think that'll be fine because you won't be presenting the notes portion anyway. I don't believe I made any content changes. But on the actual slides. So are there people in the waiting room or not right now?
I don't see anyone in the waiting room. It does have this little prompt at the bottom that says community visioning workshops start or snooze.
Oh. So in 2 more minutes, I guess, try.
I see one person in the waiting room right now.
Hooray.
Okay, that's good.
Do you? I don't see anyone in the waiting room. Okay, now I do.
Eric, don't forget to turn on your video when you're ready.
Oh, I have another person in the waiting room.
And unmute, that would be good. There you go.
Hey,
Hey,
guys.
Okay, well, should we go ahead and let them all in?
I think so, yeah. Unless anybody
Does
has
anyone want to wait any
questions.
longer to let people start joining?
I think I'm good with letting people start unless somebody has a question.
One question, am I introducing everyone or do you guys want to go around and introduce ourselves?
If you don't mind introducing us, I think that's easier.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm on for that.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. We're just going to wait another minute or two and let everybody have a chance to join. I think we still have people joining.
We're going to get started in just a moment here, everyone. Give one more minute for joining to complete.
Good evening, everyone. Should we go ahead and get started?
Yes, that's.
Sounds great.
Give me 1 second.
Sorry, we had a slow start because my internet is having some issues today. But we are going to get started in just a moment here with some introductions. Eric, when you're ready.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so happy that we have such a nice audience here. We are the Crafton Planning Commission, and we welcome you to our second session, but the first being more of an orientation about what we're up to and kind of the purpose and the intent of the work that we're trying to accomplish with you. So we welcome you as the public to join us both here virtually tonight. It is 7:07 p.m. on September 30th on 2020. And for those of you who will be visiting later via the recording, which will be posted on the Borough website. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into things. We've got designs to complete everything inside of an hour, but we have the intent of really including you because we're here because we want your voice. So if you could move forward, I can go ahead and introduce the team. I am Eric Valchef. I am on Belvedere Street here in Crafton for the past 16 years, surprisingly. We're happy to see, well, we're just happy to live here. It's a great walkable community, great resources, tremendous access to the city and the region that we live in. I'm going to go ahead and ask, Kirsten, do you have the ability to advance slides or are we frozen? Welcome to the age of internet. We're frozen. All right. Well, I can certainly keep us moving forward. I'm going to introduce some of the faces you see on the screen. For starters, our commissioner of the commission. I'm going to introduce Lydia Herring right now. Lydia has been a member of not just the Planning Commission. She's been really integral to a lot of the pieces that we've seen Crafton in terms of planning and Thrive and the comprehensive plan. And we certainly appreciate all the work that she's put in. Rich Kramer as well. I don't think Rich has missed a borough meeting and I don't know how long. We appreciate all that he does. Kirsten brings tremendous expertise from the world of what we're talking about and planning the future of our community. Colton as well comes with a tremendous technical background that helps us solve some of these crazy things that like we're trying to solve tonight. So we welcome everybody. The agenda for tonight really is around what is community visioning? What do we mean by this? How do we want to engage you? This is, we're representative of you. We were appointed by the council to, really rally you guys to give some input as to where are we, what are we as a community, how is that defined, how do we see ourselves moving forward. So tonight, this is part of a segment of a continuing series of workshops, and we'll talk more about the future workshops here in a moment towards the end of the day. But we're going to talk about the things that I think that are on the table right now. The construction that you see around the borough, the reality of what we want to be able to accomplish going forward, and to get your collective insight as fellow members of our community. So I want to thank you. I'm going to go ahead and get things started and to turn you over to really an overview of what is the 2017 comprehensive plan.
Thanks, Eric. So first of all, just wanted to make sure we touched on what is community visioning. We really are trying to gather input from all of you in order to better scope out where, as you know, a planning commission and in planning in general for the community, where we want to go, where you see yourselves in the future here, and your place in the community, and what the community has to offer for its residents. So we did work with some community visioning on a document in 2017. The comprehensive plan was passed. This was a document with Ingram Borough as well. And the final product addressed the unique needs of both communities. And I talked about this a little bit in the introduction workshop, but wanted to go and dive deeper into the goals specifically of the comprehensive plan. And just to back up, this comprehensive plan that was passed is posted on the borough website under the community page. And there's a comprehensive plan sub tab of that page. So you can go and print it off or read it in more depth if you're interested after this workshop. So just need to figure out how to get to the next slide.
Lydia, I'm going to jump in with some tech support. We're seeing some internet issues. Lydia, if you could go ahead and make me a co-host, I can go ahead and share the PowerPoint. That way we can move forward. So I can jump in on that now, and just give me a second. And
thanks.
as long as I work with the schools, I won't share any student information here. All right, here we go. So I am not in presentation mode. Everybody see?
Yep.
All right.
So
Would you like to go to the next slide?
Yeah, just 1 second. So the link at the bottom of that last slide is can take you directly to the borough website at the location where this is housed. One thing that I'm not specifically talking through tonight that is available also on that website in the same place is a status update of where we are with the goals of this plan from 2019 that the previous borough manager had put together. So that also has some good information to show, kind of track where we are with meeting the goals. But tonight I'm going to focus on what the goals were and talk through some other pieces of where we see improvement yet to come. So Eric, if you can go to the next slide and maybe put it in presentation mode. Yeah. Okay. So one of the main goals of the comprehensive plan was walkability and connectivity. And to accomplish that, we wanted to provide safe, convenient walking routes to connect community assets, provide exercise and recreation opportunities, provide safe walking routes for individuals commuting to work. So we are a walkable community. We have lots of sidewalks, but we can make some improvements such as repairs or more visible crosswalks, widening sidewalks so that we have slower traffic and more space for different amenities. We could add bike lanes, things like that. We do have the fortune of having some trails in our borough, and I'm not sure how many residents are aware of those, especially near Chartiers Creek. So we're hoping to work more on getting better signage and wayfinding so that residents can do different trails and loops around town. And that also comes in the public, marketing of those trails and trail loops also comes into question here. We want to make sure residents are aware of those things. So not only marking them, but also kind of getting the word out to residents. And you can switch to the next slide. One of the other goals was commercial development. So the goals of this category: make businesses and business investment and development opportunities simpler and more inviting while increasing tax rolls, enhance the appearance and convenience of commercial areas, including the Crafton Ingram Shopping Center, and provide a lively cultural, social, economic, and residential atmosphere. We are well positioned for commercial development, but our main street areas need to be revitalized and strengthened. We don't have businesses in every main street spot. There's a lot of vacancy, and it would be nice for those areas to be utilized and really infuse the community with businesses that community members can patron. We are pursuing grant funding to revise zoning codes, and that was submitted last month, right around Labor Day. And hopefully we see that award and can move forward with the process. But updating the zoning codes will really help us support the vision for revitalizing Main Street. You can switch to the next one.
Lydia, I just want to jump in real
Sure.
quick and let everyone know we have we've got about a dozen people here, including us, and I want to make that clear that we chose purposefully to use this format of Zoom as opposed to the webinar, the sit and get. The goal here tonight, everybody, we all live together. We want you to participate. We want you to jump in. We want you to pose your questions. You can certainly use the chat feature at any point within this. We have everyone muted right now, but we're going to take questions at the end. But keep some questions coming. Our goal here is really to be gaining your insight. All of these things, there's vicious cycles that we see in the world around us. It seems like every day, too often. But this is really about creating a virtuous cycle and creating good things that happen within each of our business corridors, within the entirety of the community. One good thing leads to another, and that leads to really a even better community than the Crafton in which we live. So with that, I'm just going to move forward with the slides, and thanks for your patience with us as we get this going forward.
Thanks,
Sorry
Eric.
about that. I was muted there. Okay, our next topic is going to be property maintenance and code enforcement. The goals here are to preserve and enhance our property values, to create opportunities for commercial economic growth, to improve and create opportunities for safe and healthy residential, social, recreational, and cultural life, and to create and sustain visually attractive locations and views. And one way we've done this is about 1.5 years ago, Lydia mentioned earlier, we work with Ingram a lot. Well, about 1.5 years ago, we created a blight committee and worked collectively with Ingram to look through both our neighborhood in Crafton and through the properties of Ingram to determine which parts of the communities were sustainable and were well kept, and more or less enhance the views that we would like to see in Crafton and Ingram, and which parts of Ingram and Crafton needed some work, where we had houses that were abandoned, where we had property where there was no house and there was shrubbery that was overbent. And we worked with a couple students from Carnegie Mellon University to use a product called GIS. You're going to hear that mentioned a couple of times, which allowed us to go through the locations and pinpoint the properties that each community felt need to be either worked on, get put back on the books somehow, or just plain torn down. In Crafton, we've identified probably half a dozen or so properties where they do need to be torn down, and we're working with the councils to get the funding and prioritize where we can get these properties back on the books. Another thing that we did as part of this, if you look on the right-hand side of this screen, there's a form there for the side yard program. This is a program through Allegheny County where if you live next to one of these properties that need to be looked at, enhanced, and you want to add that as part of your property, you can work through the county to, and again, the information is on the Allegheny website to show you how you can go about getting this property as part of your property, make it a side, exactly what it says, make it a side yard for your program, for your property, I'm sorry, and follow the rules of that program. Some of the things that they look at is back taxes, a reasonable value for that property, and roll that up, and you make yourself, you fill out the forms, it'll tell you exactly how to go about it. We've had 3 or 4 already in Crafton where people have looked at the property next to them. The planning commissions reviews that property assessment, reviews what the people that want to buy the lot want to offer for that land, and we make a recommendation to yes or no. Yeah, we're okay with this, or no, we don't. We need to hear a better offer, or break this into 2 properties or something, such like that. Outside of that, code enforcement's a big role in this property, in the borough. We have a number of ordinances on the books that I don't want to say they haven't been followed through all the time, but we need our code enforcer to make sure that our properties are kept well, or people are following the ordinances. So the code enforcement portion of the boroughs helps us do that. Can we flip to the next slide? Okay, communication, and also communication. The goals of communication are to encourage citizen engagement by providing transparency in local government operations and a welcoming atmosphere at borough meetings. Communicate in a timely and accurate way with citizens and the business community, visitors, and media. Provide access to information about community resources for old and new residents to be greeted. The way that we do that here in Crafton, we have our borough website, which offers you information on everything that's going on in the borough and each commission and what they do. If you go to the borough website, there's a tab for community visiting. You're going to see a lot of that information that we're covering today, last week, and in the future. And there'll be ways for you to recommend, comment, and read up some of these documents that we've started putting together. Tell us what you feel we should be doing, what you feel our priorities should be, and help us go forward with that idea. The other way we do that is with an app that's available called Savvy Citizen. If you download that to your phone, you have the opportunity to pick and choose amongst all the communities that are using Savvy Citizen to get direct communications either by email, or I believe they can also come to your phone via message. They'll let you know when meetings are happening, when street reconstruction is going to happen in your area, when other community events are going to happen, when Crafton Celebrates is going to happen. You'll get an announcement for that. If the Historical Society is going to do something, you'll be notified on that. These are a couple tools, a couple ways that you can help us communicate, help you communicate to us, we communicate back to you. And again, I say, help us prioritize what you feel the needs are for the community. Thank you. Go to the next slide.
Awesome. And as we move to Colton, I just want to say there are a great number of ways to get your voice heard, and it's critical. I mean, for those of you, all of you that came out tonight, and those of you who will be listening in the future, it's so critical that you know and that we acknowledge that we're listening. We want your input. Because our job is to make suggestions. We're not policy. So it really is, it's incumbent upon all of us to work together to make the best possible suggestions that suit the needs and the vision for the community. Colton?
Yes. So with that said, a couple of our current visioning initiatives are the vision document, which I will explain a little bit more in the next slide. And this workshop series. So this workshop series that everybody is currently a part of is here to, gain in community input and build consensus from those who live in the community. Just as Eric had said, we want everybody's voice to be heard, and we definitely, want to get ideas because we obviously can't, create everything that everybody may want. And the vision draft is currently available on the borough website, as Lydia had said earlier. You can find it on the borough website under the community visioning. Next slide. So the vision document is a compilation of ideas that the Planning Commission has discussed so far. With that said, this is a living document that can evolve and is definitely not a formal plan. So, once we get ideas from the community, we can always add to it, of course. And this basically builds upon the comprehensive plan by addressing continued and new ways to implement the plan's goals. And the reason for doing this is to, have a clear and documented set of visions to help us pursue funding and support for implementation.
Awesome. So it's not a PDF file that'll be forever immortalized on the internet. It really is living and breathing, and we want your input.
So as Colton mentioned, this document, it's really just a compilation of our ideas so that we are sharing our ideas between the Planning Commission, and we wanted to make it public to share with you as well, things that we're thinking about. This document is available on the website, so you can look through it yourself. We're not going to detail everything in it today, but we wanted to give you a sense of what's in it. What are some of the things that we've been thinking about? And some of the things that we've been talking about. So the vision document content includes ideas about streetscaping and public domain improvements. It includes some discussion of our parks, trails, and connectivity, and places where we are thinking about where we can improve or add to some of those. It also talks about promoting local businesses and some of the ideas that we have for how we can do that. What we want to see in our downtown, how we can support our downtown, where is our downtown, what are the extents of it. It talks about local character to preserve the character that makes Crafton special. What are those things that make it special, and how can we protect those special character elements, and how can we add to those and build upon those. And then it also talks about some of our priority sites that we know are undergoing changes. And we're hoping that as a Planning Commission and also as a community, that we can help engage all of you in the community to help guide what happens on some of those sites. So that's a brief overview of what's in the vision. And these are things that we're going to have a more in-depth conversation about with all of you just a little bit later this evening. We're going to open this up after the end of our slideshow and get into a more detailed conversation to hear your thoughts about some of these. So there is a section on streetscape concepts, and we wanted to just share before we get into the interactive discussion. We wanted to share with all of you a few things that we've already pulled together for ideas and some of the examples that we've been talking about and are in that vision document. We've been talking about complete streets, which is generally a concept that means that streets are designed to be safe for all users. They're for pedestrians, for cars, for bicyclists, for young children, for the elderly. Complete streets are safe and connected for everyone. This idea of bulb outs, which is the image that you see below on this slide, that's basically where key intersections are narrower. So it makes cars slow down. It makes it easier for people to cross. You get all that space at the corners is given back to pedestrians. That's a concept that we've talked about. I'm sure you all have seen the beautiful brick streets that we have in Crafton and have heard about some of those brick streets that have had to be removed over the years. And all of that brick is actually still in the possession of Crafton Borough. We have a large amount of that historic brick that can be reincorporated into other projects in the future. So that's something that we've been discussing. Crafton is a tree city, USA. There's a lot of pride in the street trees that we have, trees that line the streets and cast shade on the streets, and interest in pursuing that further.
I don't know if we realize that that may be a technical term. Can you help us understand what a street tree means and where it's planted?
Street trees may even be in our definitions that are coming, but street trees are trees that are planted along the street. If you see in that upper photo, there are trees that are planted between the street and the sidewalk. There are numerous technical terms for that little area of grass between the street and the sidewalk. Oftentimes it's just called a planting strip. There are other names for it. There's no one right answer, but street trees are planted along the street. So usually between the street and the sidewalk or right next to the sidewalk. It's really not that technical a term. They're trees that line the street.
For that issue, I just had a question. Who's responsible for those trees and that little strip? Is it Crafton or is it the homeowner?
That's a good comment. Street trees are usually planted along the street. They're usually in public property and they're usually considered public property. But depending on where they're planted, they can also be subject to the homeowner's maintenance, just like the sidewalk in front of their yard.
And I'll point out that that is a terrific opportunity for if you, I'm not sure of the question's nature, but the context, I should say. At any point, I would encourage anyone to use the borough's service request and pose that question. We're not capable of really answering, a specific property's question. Again, we make suggestions. We're not policy. But in terms of getting support directly from an answer to the specific kind of question, hey, whose job is it to trim this tree, or this tree is old, or what's going to happen? It seems like it got hit by lightning last night. Whatever that is, the service request is located in the top corner of the Crafton Borough website. And I will say that that is tracked. It's something that's been responsive, and in my opinion, it's been underutilized. So I encourage you to really push the borough to make sure that you're getting the support for the trees in front of your house and on your street.
One other thing to mention is I know the borough is actively receiving applications for any homeowners that are interested in potentially having a street tree planted on their property. I know there's stipulations like you can't have them planted underneath electrical lines, but I encourage you to look into that if you're interested in having our Shade Tree Commission involved in getting an appropriate tree planted on your property. And I know we have some audience members that are part of the Shade Tree Committee, so if anyone has anything to add at this moment, feel free.
We also, despite our designation as a Tree City USA, we do have a lot of streets and sidewalks where that amount of space between the street and the sidewalk is very narrow. And in the past, those have often been planted, historically had trees in them. But as things have changed over the decades, that hasn't always worked out well. And a lot of those trees have had to be removed because they're too close to the sidewalk. They're causing damage to the sidewalk. And of course, we also now have overhead power lines that go over a lot of those trees. So this is not only something that we currently have in our community. We have existing street trees to maintain, but we also have the opportunity as streets are being redone or repaved or improved over time. And one of the things we'll bring up today is that we do have a project, a sewer project that's going to result in a part of Crafton Boulevard being repaved. When things like that happen, we have the opportunity to think about whether there is the ability to alter the way things are laid out to leave more space for street trees or other things that we think that this community judges to be important, an important part of our character. And then the last item on that list is defined parking. And again, none of these are technical terms. None of these are final ideas. They're just things that we've been talking about. Ways to define parking are many and varied, but we've heard that there are difficulties parking around the busway in the Borough Building. So there's potentially a need to better define parking down there, or think about a parking district, or more parking regulations, time limits, things like that. There's also, as we think about what we want our downtown to be, how we can promote more businesses, we have quite a lot of pavement, but it's not always easy for people to understand where they're allowed to park, or to feel like it's the amount of parking is visible and easy to find. So one of the things that we can consider is whether we need to have better defined parking areas or parking strategies to make our town easier to visit and our businesses easier to visit. One of the next categories that the vision document talks about is placemaking concepts, which thinks about gateway design. This is basically, what do you see when you come into Crafton? Some of our main ways into and out of town, although specifically into town. What do you see? Do you know that you're entering Crafton? Can we do anything to make that entrance or any of those entrance points a little bit more like a sense of arrival? Make sure that people know that they are in Crafton now. This is a place, and it's a place that you want to stay and you want to explore. One way that we can do that is through things like wayfinding and signage. There's an example of a sign right up there, but wayfinding and signage can indicate where you are. It can have logos and branding associated with it. It can point you specifically to destinations and sites and local businesses, or it can be more for pedestrians to come up and read and give historic information, and tell some of the story and narrative of Crafton. Those are all things that can help make us stand out a little bit more and just instill more pride and reflect the character that makes Crafton such a wonderful place. Murals and public art are additional placemaking things that can contribute to wayfinding and signage and dressing up those entrances, or be used anywhere else throughout the community. But we've definitely been thinking about whether there's anywhere to incorporate public art, whether it's a mural or sculpture or artistic benches. Is there any place where that would be appropriate in our community? We have talked about street lighting, especially in areas around the business district and the downtown. Can we improve our lighting and make it more comfortable for pedestrians, as well as reflect that Main Street character? And then slow streets is a concept that has become very popular just since COVID has been happening throughout the nation, where a lot of communities have allowed businesses to spill out into the street, allowed restaurants to take up space in the street temporarily, and allowed their streets to be used more flexibly, to be closed off to cars and used for pedestrians, or used for bike lanes, or used for restaurant seating. A lot of cities have changed their policies to allow that flexibility to happen more easily. And that's something that we can consider here too. What other uses can we use in the space that we already have? And then that final category that is addressed in the vision document are some of these opportunity sites where we know that things are either likely to change or are really possible sites to change or are already undergoing some kind of change. And we want to make sure that we are having a conversation and that we're engaging the community in the conversation to think about what can happen in each of these areas. So CIT fields, wayfinding and signage to CIT fields has come up. The busway and the area around the station has been discussed, especially as there is a major Port Authority is doing a lot of investment and changes in their transit system at the moment. We've talked about commercial branding for the downtown, and that links to a project that the Planning Commission has had going on for some time to try to take better stock of all the businesses that we have and create a business map to do some marketing for the businesses that we have. The parking district, like I mentioned, is something we've heard that there's a need to better look at and better delineate parking around the borough building. The trolley trail improvements. If any of you have not used the trolley trail, it goes along Crafton Boulevard and meets up with the city of Pittsburgh. And just this year, the city of Pittsburgh got a grant from the state to do substantial improvements to the trolley trail on their side of the boundary. So that gives us the opportunity to pursue funding in the future to improve our end of it as well, and then be able to link to that newly renovated trolley trail that leads downtown. There is the Crafton Boulevard sewer project, which is going to tear up a good portion of Crafton Boulevard as it substantially improves our sewer system and improves the flooding issues and stormwater management issues that happen along that corridor. But in doing so, it will have to replace the street and repave the street. And so we've been looking into opportunities to improve that street once it's put back in place. And then there's the Linden Street property, which is the property that's controlled by the school. And we won't get too into that today, but we are planning another workshop.
We can all say it's
focus
being
specifically on that.
contentious. Absolutely.
Yes, we have another workshop coming up where we will focus specifically on that property.
All right. So I appreciate Kirsten you giving some context around the street trees and the various, seems like 100 names that they go by, and the various confusions that it costs to maintenance and sidewalks and all of those sorts of things. And you know, I'm new to the Planning Commission. I've been on council and I've been here for a while, but I wasn't familiar with TOD, wasn't familiar with what was really meant by zoning. And there's been a litany of new kind of phrases that have come up. And a lot of it comes around to grant applications and governance and those sorts of things. So we've been trying to kind of showcase here some of the terms that get used, and the one that really kind of surfaces tonight in the spotlight is Main Street programs. I don't think a lot of people think of Crafton in terms of a main street, but the reality is we do have a number of main streets. We have a number of opportunities to think what a bigger design would be and how we can engage as a community into what we want it to be. So Main Street programs, I think, are a real focus as a planning commission that we're undertaking. And we want to make sure that the community has A, some understanding of the terminology, and B, you have opportunity to say, no, it's a terrible idea, or, you know, we do need more of that, and that is an emphasis. The other is this concept of streetscape. It's intuitive. Like these are not esoteric terms, but it's good to kind of put it up and to understand what streetscape really means. And as you come through this town, the wayfinding or the signs of how you get around, and nobody wants to see an orange construction sign up for 10 years saying that it's a detour to CIT. We should really think about the experience of those we welcome into this community, and think about the things that we want to attract people to stay and be part of this community. And by the by, we live here, and we don't want to see that orange sign every time we go out to walk our dogs. So those are things that we do to make this a better community overall. So we're coming into the end of our presentation tonight, but at no point is this the end of a conversation. And just to round it out, the wayfinding, these are signs that we use to point our ways to the Burlington downtown in this picture. Hopefully we have one that says, "Welcome to Crafton." And we have some good things that happen that are around town. We see the signs that I believe it was the Rotary had put up in the past. And there's a lot of opportunities to rethink how we can improve on that and leverage the good things that Crafton has done over the past 100 years. So with that in mind, I think that your mentioning of the trolley trail, and we think about gateways into Crafton as being the roads that come in here. Well, coming to Crafton can also be an experience that's done on a bicycle. And as the city of Pittsburgh improves that trolley trail, how we welcome people to continue on over the hill and stop by and tour our little town as they leave the big city is a great opportunity for us to rethink gateways and what those spaces mean in terms of welcoming. And then the last one, I think, is probably the most difficult for me personally to understand, was this concept of complete streets. So the idea of there's room for everybody, it makes complete sense to me, but it's not something that I had completely thought about, not to overutilize the term. So how do we use our streets beyond just the traffic, and how do we share the streets with the traffic that's on it? This is going to come into play as we think about strategies like the Linden property, as we think about strategies as we welcome people into town. So we'll put a quiz out maybe later on and see how everyone did. So we're going to jump to the group brainstorm. So I'm going to turn things back over here, and I guess my question would be, Lydia, would you like to maybe walk us through our pop quiz?
Yes, so we are going to open it up for a group brainstorming session, and we're going to touch on 3 different questions, one at a time. And we're going to go through an interactive feature where we're going to project an iPad and be able to receive comments and annotate the Google Earth map of Crafton to capture elements that anybody has suggestions about for improving, or notes to make, or even calling out features that you already love in a particular area that we should do more of. So those 3 questions are: what do you treasure about Crafton today? Essentially, why do you live here? What future do you want for Crafton? What would you like it to look like in 20 years? And to that end, what would you like to leave for the next generation? And then number 3 is, what are the primary challenges that you see that need to be addressed, maybe to get to that future ideal Crafton? So if, Kirsten, are you ready to project your iPad?
I am.
Okay, great. So we'll turn that over to the mapping.
All right. Yeah, so we're hoping that we'd like to hear from all of you tonight. So please feel free to use the chat function if you're more comfortable with it, but also feel free to unmute yourselves and speak up. We're hoping to start I kind of go through this question by question, although don't feel too constrained. This is really just a conversation. We have a map here of Crafton, and we can go in, we can zoom in, and we can explore if there's something that you'd like to point out or discuss. And we're going to take down your thoughts and your ideas and your comments. And we're gonna keep track of this during this session. We're gonna note them down so everyone can see what we're talking about and what we're looking at. And hopefully also be taking down some of the ideas that I'm sure that all of you have. So to that end, our first question.
There may be a technical failure on our part. I don't know that we have the chat enabled for us this evening. So I just want to make sure that if you'd like to, we welcome you to participate, but I'm not sure that everyone has chat enabled. So I believe everyone can unmute themselves and raise a hand and speak freely.
We do have a hand raised, so.
Patty, you're unmuted. Patty, you're not unmuted.
Are we able to unmute people?
They have the control over it. Patty, you can try unmuting again. If not, while we figure that out, Elaine, you want to go ahead? I see you're unmuted.
Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate it. One of the things that I find, especially being home now due to COVID since March, I find the walkability of Crafton to be challenging because of some of the street areas, not just sidewalks are a little unsteady, but also some of the areas, for example, the Ewing Road area. I wish we would be able to get more of a walking path area down there. And along with the Crafton Boulevard area, it's very difficult to walk along there if we, if there's cars coming up and down. And if anybody that lives up in the area of the South Grandview area, they'll know that when the ball fields are active, there's a lot of traffic, vehicular traffic going on. And it kind of wish we had some ability to have more of a walking path, especially if the future is to put more activities down in that, I think it's called Middletown Myers ball field area.
That's right.
Can I just clarify, is this the portion of Crafton Boulevard that you're referring to along the creek?
Let's see if I can see, because I have an alert across my screen. I believe so. It's Ewing Road.
Okay.
That takes you from the intersection of where South Grandview Avenue trickles all the way down to Promenade Fountain area.
That's right. That's the area that the arrow's drawn over.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and especially if we're going to develop that area more, the walkability, accessibility is not, it's not feasible there right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is that mostly road condition or the lack of sidewalk or the lack of lighting and safety, or all of those things?
You're touching all of them.
Mm-hmm. Because right now there isn't a sidewalk for most of that. You have to walk in the street.
Correct. And while part of it they have paved, and it is a wonderful area where they've paved, it has made vehicular traffic to be, you know, they're actually speeding on that area. And I brought that to the attention of the borough before, but you know, unless you're posting somebody all the time, you're not going to catch anyone.
Yeah, well, that's an important comment, because the way that the posted signs only do so much to stop people from speeding, but there are other things that can be done too to change the way the road works, to make points that are narrower, or speed bumps, or different lighting. There are ways that we can make it less amenable to speeding.
There are currently a few of those bumps. They're made out of like a rubberized material. And that I'm going to agree with Elaine. I walk down there probably daily, and speeding is definitely becoming an issue down there. I'm Mary. That's, I don't know I don't have a hand function right now.
And I think where the area that is before, I believe it's called DeSoto Street, there's an area, I've been a longtime resident of Crafton, so we used to call it the Loggerman area, because that was a Loggerman farm area. People are parking along the street, which, you know, that's fine. They have that right, just as I have the right to park in front of my home. But the problem is that they're parking in the street. So in order for your walkability access, you have to walk around the car. And if there's a car coming, it's quite dangerous.
Right, and this curve, you mean right at that area? The curve right around DeSoto Street, where
it
where
would
the
be
road curves
back
quickly?
to the right of DeSoto Street, not to the left.
Okay.
So I would say where your word says in speeding, where you have your N and your G in that area.
Okay, right there. Okay.
Okay, if I may, Elaine, are you talking about where the three houses sit down there and the farmhouse is down in the back?
Yes.
That's the only parking those three houses have, is right there on the street.
And I agree with you 100%, Rich. And what I'm saying is that if we're going to look at expanding the area down there where the ball fields are, it's a concern to me that if we want our children or even our older people to walk down there, it's just not accessible.
Yeah, they need to have a safer way to get around besides having to walk in the middle of the street.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely right. That's terrific feedback, and we certainly appreciate it. I noticed, Elaine, that, I'm sorry, Krista, that your hand is up, but we're unable to unmute you. Are you able, Krista, to unmute yourself?
Yes. So my concern is on the other side of Crafton, up on top of the hill, Rogers Avenue is where I'm at. And I have a couple of concerns here. So my only way down into Crafton is two ways. I can go down the trolley trail, or I can cut back through the right-of-way / paper street behind my house, walking through high weeds to get to Steuben Street.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like that corner of Rogers over to Steuben, where Rogers and Lawson is.
Yeah, it's hidden in the
Actually, right where the
trees.
arrow-
I've walked it before. It's difficult.
Yeah, and those are my only two ways down into Crafton. And then my other concern is that the trolley trail itself gets very rutted at the bottom of the maintained part of the trail. It's very difficult to pull a wagon or push a stroller through that particular area, depending on when the last bad bad rain wiped something out down there, because they come through, they fix it, it gets rutted again. They need to do something more so that it doesn't continue to rut there. And then also, I don't know if you have further zoom in, but where Josephine meets Lawson, there is one stop sign going down the hill on Lawson, but there is no type of signage going up the hill or on Josephine. So essentially, Josephine coming to the T there has the right of way, as well as people coming up Lawson. No, the other side.
Is it this one is Lawson? I don't have that one labeled.
Yeah, that's Lawson. Yeah, the one that's unlabeled is Lawson.
The one that's right by the border.
Yeah, so where the J is where the intersection of Josephine and Lawson is. And basically, if you are coming out of Josephine, you have the right of way, and if you're coming up Lawson from Rogers, you have the right of way. There's a stop sign right at the top of the J going down the hill, but that's because I complained one time. They put a stop sign in. They really should have put it at the end of Josephine and not coming down the hill. In the evening, when all the cars, well, I guess, and also now with COVID, in the evening when all the cars are parked, that corner is completely blind, which is why they put the stop sign there, is because they figured that you could get a better look, but that doesn't keep people from speeding around that corner and whipping up the hill.
So are you talking about the intersections, and anyone else
Yes.
who is following can help me out? Is it this intersection that's internal, not along Crafton Boulevard?
Yes, it's that intersection.
It's this
that you have
angled
right
intersection with Lawson and Josephine.
Yes, that's what she's talking about. When I first moved into Crafton, I moved onto Rogers Street. I was at 52 Rogers Street, down where the J is there. And yes, it's like 4 streets coming into one there. And if people do come down Rogers from Crafton Boulevard down Rogers and want to come back, they have to climb a steep embankment there. And so I'm presuming that's why they're coming up there so fast.
Oh, well, it's people coming up Rogers isn't really, from Rogers, that one isn't really the problem. It's people not stopping at Josephine and Lawson. They just whip around the corner to whichever direction of Lawson they're heading down, because they have zero stop sign, no yield sign, no nothing.
So it's this movement here.
Yeah.
You're talking about leaving Lawson onto Josephine or Josephine onto Lawson?
I mean, it doesn't really matter where they're going from Josephine. Josephine has no stop sign there.
Right.
There is a stop sign at the top of your green arrow that would be facing the opposite direction as your arrow, but that's it. There's not one coming up the hill, and there's not one going from Josephine to Lawson. Yeah.
So that stop sign stops traffic that's coming this direction.
Right.
But Josephine has the right of way.
Well, technically, yeah, Josephine has the right of way, and if you're coming up Lawson, you have the right of way. So if you, in theory, had somebody coming up Lawson and somebody coming from Josephine, both have the right of way, aside from that stop sign.
Great. That's terrific feedback.
Yeah, thanks for that comment.
There's one more. Richard, I can't unmute you. Are you able to unmute yourself? I see you have your hand up. There you go. Welcome, Richard.
Richard, the floor is yours.
Well, hopefully we'll get a minute. I'll take a moment to say, you know, part of the group brainstorm, we really want to know what we treasure, right? Why do we live here? What are some things that are going great? This is terrific. This is precise feedback and precisely what we were looking for. But you know, what are some things that we should be doing more of? What do you see around town that really is working, and you wish we would improve upon and enter into that virtuous cycle? Any thoughts?
Eric, I have some comments.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Okay, great. I don't know how to raise I can't see the raise hand function, so I apologize for just jumping in.
If you open the participants window, you'll be able to see it.
Okay, thank you. So I think, you know, I owned a house in Crafton, and I built a house in Crafton, and I love this area. And there's a charm that isn't in most of, you know, Pittsburgh itself, or in even any major cities. I think the issues, you know, where we can do lots of improvements are, or that I see, is one on our tax base. And, you know, our taxes seem to be so high. Property, school taxes are outrageous. And yeah, and it's just part of that reason is because we have homeowners versus a lot of commercial development, and it's causing people to not be able to afford to live here because they can't afford to pay the taxes. And the housing has definitely gone up, the price of the housing, which shows the value of the community. But I think that where we're missing the boat is, you know, we want to continue to have the charm, and we want to continue to have the, you know, the cozy feel of Crafton, but we're going to force people out or away from here because we don't have that commercial tax base to be able to afford a lot of the things that we want to do. So I look at Carnegie. You know, Carnegie has still the charm of what it has, but it opened up Main Street, and Main Street is beautiful there, with a lot of little shops that you can go in and out, food, craft stores, a pub. So a really nice area where you can walk up and down the street. And we really don't have that. We have the shopping center, which is huge and more parking than we would ever need, with shops that are really not attractive. It's not going to bring people to the area, and it's not going to you know, bring citizens to go into there and shop, or just walk and bring a family to go into the attractions. Then we have Serafino's, which is very nice and walkable and very quaint. And now we have D&O Wine Cellar, which is nice, but a little disjointed, and you have to know where those are. And then you have a gas station, you know, plopped right in the middle of it, and a car repair shop. So we seem to be, at least on the commercial side, not very progressive. And I think that's an area that we can definitely work on, from a tax base, but also from an attractiveness aspect.
Would you mind elaborating a little bit on what you mean by attractiveness? Because I think that we are really happy to hear these comments. Again, one of the things that we've been looking at is how to revitalize our businesses downtown, how to create more of a sense of a coherent downtown, and bring some local businesses that will bring that more diverse tax base to us.
Yeah,
and support our residents.
Absolutely. I think, you know, we have Serafino's and D&O, which are destination spots for people outside of the Crafton area, but also within Crafton. So you can walk there and get a drink, have dinner. There's nothing for you to do afterwards, but those are destination spots. I think if you look at the shopping center itself, there isn't, you know, anything where I would walk to, you know, just go and have any of those amenities. A lot of the shops or restaurants are closed early, and some of them are more just the fast food side. So we have a huge parking lot that we may be able to develop to some walkability, or do you develop around the Serafino's area to make that be more of the Carnegie feel of the town? I know there's been a lot of discussion about the mini golf course and the playing field. I know that's a different topic and people are very much pushing back on that. But, you know, the mini golf course is open a couple hours a year. I mean, it's nothing. Otherwise, it's overgrown and people don't even know it's there. So is it such a fight to have some development in that area to attract people to come versus a couple hours a week in the summer to play miniature golf at a course that is just not even competitive with the other miniature golf courses that are close to here, including Forsyth's and some of the ones around the area. Moon.
And I want to just highlight, I've zoomed out here so we can see where these are in relationship to each other. The area where we have Serafino's and D&O's, and also a smattering of more than several. There are a good number of local businesses over in this area. That's around the Borough Building, the library, also the Rotary Building is nearby, and the train station or the busway station is nearby. That's all in one area, and then that shopping center and the mini golf, those are in a different spot. Just wanted to highlight where those are in relationship to each other and think about where do you want to see more business growth? Where do you want to walk to? And do we have ideas for both of these? Are they the same or should they be a bit different?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the Serafino's D&O circle would be more of that Carnegie feel. Small businesses. I know we have Sisters Floral. There used to be an art shop there. That's that Carnegie feel. And I think that would be attractive for the citizens internally and for people externally to come and spend a night and have a nice walk through a town like ours. The shops within the Crafton Ingram Shopping Center, now that's where I would feel that you would do more driving to because they aren't necessarily so central to everybody, but that we need some shops that are attractive to people so they don't have to necessarily leave Crafton all the time to be able to get the essentials that they need. I think, you know, people laugh at the magazine that comes out because there's an ad in there that says Crafton Ingram Shops, you can get everything here. And it says the laundromat, the Chan-An, and Subway and Dollar Bank are listed as the places that you can come to do all of your shopping. And that's just not, that's just not attractive.
I appreciate that. Mary, I see your hands up. Did you get a chance, or do you have something else you wanted to add on? I think you have to right-click to unmute. I'm not sure if you're on a Mac.
No, I wanted to tell people, because you haven't mentioned it, there is actually a brand new store that just opened. It's going to be, it looks like a gift shop. She may not have opened, or she may have opened today. That's probably the third store. It's right next to Kathy's Dance Time. Those are other stores that are up there. There's hairdressers, there's a bar, there's, and there is now going to be a gift store. One of the things that I find people either don't know some of these small stores exist, or they just don't, they're not patronizing them. That spot has had 3 different stores within the last 2 years. And if people don't go to them, you know, these people can't succeed. And that's kind of, I know that happened up even on Crafton Boulevard by Capretti's, where some stores opened. They were interesting. Their prices sometimes might have to be a little bit high. I mean, but that's so you can walk to it and you maybe are paying $1 or $2 extra, but I still find that, and they have closed. Now there's like a new store that opened up there that's some sort of, I don't know, it's going to have like buyouts or something. It opened where like the old Milia's was, which had been Ever After. It has been a couple different stores. But again, if the people in Crafton do not go to these stores, it's a problem. I feel like we're our own worst enemies. If you're not supporting these people by at least going in and seeing, okay, I could buy my card here, or I could buy my, you know, whatever. So that's just something that I've noticed, because I've tried to work with some of these people in different events, and they're just not getting the foot traffic that they need to get to survive long term.
Well, I think that's a really great comment. So thank you for bringing that up. And maybe you or anyone else can share a little bit what would be helpful to have or to see or to do to help promote those businesses and make people more aware of them, and maybe make it easier for people to find them, or more.
Well, I think the signage, I think all those things that you've talked about, I think the businesses helping each other. I know when we had the house tour and we had some of these new stores that had opened, we included them on the tour, and, you know, they had open houses. They did phenomenally, I can't say the word. They did really well for a short period of time, and they got a lot of attention. But I think having those sorts of things, I feel like the business owners themselves are kind of their own worst enemies. They're not out promoting as much as they need to be sometimes. And I think that whole, I know Capretti's there, I mean, like, they've done fantastic up there as long as the bridge has been open. And they would love to make that area, you know, you talked about making, you know, utilizing the street, putting benches, putting some planters, a tree or two. They would love, you know, pull in parking sideways versus like when you're parallel to the curb, where you could just pull in, you know, making that area. I think if Crafton Boulevard, if you're doing all these things, that's one of the places that you could really, really, you know, there's some businesses, it's close to the school. I don't know. I mean, there's so much, but I just
Mary,
feel like,
I'll just say it could start as something as simple as a trash receptacle up there.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a great first step. I think that that's long overdue.
and I think, and you talked about the whole, you know, I am the chair of the tree commission. So your street tree questions that was very interesting to me. That ordinance was changed just within the last, I'm going to say
2 years.
Maybe 10, no, not even. It's only about a year old. Up to this point, you were responsible for your street tree. The Crafton Borough did not, but that has changed. The borough now is responsible. I don't know if you've noticed, a whole lot of trees have gotten cut down. Last year we had Penn State come through and rate every street tree in Crafton and the park trees. And a lot of the work that's been done this year, the budget's probably blown by now, unfortunately, was to remove some of these really, really big trees, that some probably close to 100 years old. But one of the things I feel that we really need to do, but again, you're working with the borough, it's not always the easiest thing on earth. Trimming. We haven't really gotten into pruning the trees, and I think this is our next step. We've removed trees. Now there's trees that don't need removed, but yes, they need some major pruning done to them. And I think that's where the tree commission would really like to focus, getting that point across to the borough and to the council is just not always the easiest thing on earth. I mean, anybody who works with, you know, you have a revolving door often of people in and out, and trying to get people on your side and then get it motivated, then they leave. So it's hard. It's been a very hard task to do. But I don't think I'm telling you anything you didn't know. So sorry about that.
You know,
That's
I
something
think
that
that-
we can help with too. We want to help promote the things that we know people want the most. And
Well,
you've got
yeah.
us to help make that happen.
Mary, would it be a good thing for maybe a portion of this visioning document to be squarely on what the tree commission is recommending? Actionable, intelligent, next steps that are, I don't want to say codified, because this is all vision and strategy and recommendation.
Right.
But it sure would be nice to get it in there with some specific, tangible things. I think pruning's a great example of that. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I've always about how can we all work together, because I think we have more strength working with each other than working against each other when it comes to all these things.
And what's nice about the visioning document is those of us come and go. The reality is there is a living document. There is a living and breathing extension of Thrive is really what that is. You know, there is something that people can really lean on and step into and say, hey, where are we with this? Look, it was written down in 2017. How come we haven't done anything with it? So those are great opportunities for us to get into the kind of that the visioning statement document as a whole.
I love it. I think it's great. I am curious about the road. You said Crafton Boulevard. I think that would be fantastic if we could really highlight the road. When are they doing this? The new sewer thing? Is that, I know they're working on Grandview now.
It's underway, but it's happening in stages. So the engineering is still being worked out for that portion of the road.
Okay. But I mean, like when you talked enlarging, that one of our major issues with the street trees right now is you don't have the tree lawn. It's too small. And that's
Right.
what is. So that's a major issue. There's only a very, Creighton would be a good example of the kind of tree lawn that a tree really would like. You know, it's probably 3 to 4 times, you know, what the other tree lawns are. Some of them are barely a foot, you know, wide. And that's not fair to be planting a tree there knowing that, you know, in 10 to 20 years, if not sooner, it's not going to be a viable tree. And that's kind of what has happened. I mean, some of these giant sycamores, which are fantastic trees, I mean, one of my favorite tree on earth, but being in a tree lawn that's only, you know, a foot, 18 inches wide is just so unfair to them and becomes a danger. So, you know, some of the oaks that had to come down, you know, it's sad. It's sad, but you know, we have hopes that we can get going again and get some trees in. But if we can enlarge those tree lawns on Crafton Boulevard, that would really help.
That's right.
I love that you called it a tree lawn. This came up earlier. What is the technical term? And there are so many. And there's another one that popped up today. I love that you're using a different term.
That's what we call them. So what did you call it? I forgot what you said now.
Oh, I've heard it called about 5 different things. I called it a planting strip because everyone understands that, obviously. But tree lawn sounds nicer.
That's great.
Okay.
Same thing, though.
Mary, thank you. As always, let's coordinate and get some pages in there dedicated to the tree commission and that tree lawn. I think we should adopt that. I want to pause for a second. We're kind of rounding out the home stretch, and we have a couple of things we do want to cover. However, I know that Patty, you had your hand up. We couldn't figure out how to unmute you. Have you been able to click on that microphone and be able to pose your question or thoughts, comments, ideas, suggestions, or otherwise? In the meantime, I see Elaine and Krista have your hands up. Did we get to you, or do you have more? Go ahead and unmute if you'd like to join in. All right. Well, if you do and you could unmute, please, you're welcome. This is, you know, transparency is for the policymakers. This isn't about transparency. This is about community and collaborating around central ideas and creating a central vision and direction.
Let me just jump in with a workaround. The website has a comment box, and those comments go directly to my email, and I have my phone here. So if you can't unmute yourself for some reason, please submit a comment through that box, and I will see it and read it out here for everybody.
I would also like to add, anyone's welcome to speak up whenever they would like. And we asked about what the treasures are in Crafton, but also what the challenges are. And we don't need to stay in any particular order. We've been kind of noting down all of your ideas for both as we go. But if you were holding back because you thought we weren't at this point yet, you know, please feel free to answer any of those questions. What do you think are the challenges? What makes Crafton, or what do you think are the treasures? What makes Crafton special? Or what are the challenges? What do you think needs to be addressed? And jump in with any comment that you have.
That's right.
I'll just repeat the questions that Lydia had written out. We had, what do you treasure about Crafton today? What future do you want for Crafton? Otherwise phrased, what would you like Crafton to be in 20 years? And number 3, what are the primary challenges? So we're very happy that so many of you were able to join us tonight. And we're very happy to hear any of the feedback and the communication that you brought this evening.
Hi. So I was unable to unmute myself, and there's no chat box. So thank you for unmuting. I would like to add to the shops not being attractive comments. I can honestly say that in the Crafton Ingram Shopping Center, there isn't much there that I need to shop at. Like, I don't know how many discount stores we need in that shopping center. It would be nice to have something other than a discount store. And Mary talked about the one business that has seen many owners over by Capretti. I can tell you I've tried to stop there a few times. There's no parking there except for the few street parking spots that are there. Capretti has a parking lot, but you're not allowed to park in it. And the side street beside it isn't you can't really park there either. So I've neglected to go there. And as I've stated before, being at the top of the hill, and my only way of walking down into Crafton is to have to go down the trolley trail. To get to the circle, I have to basically backtrack the whole way because I can't just cut straight down in by any means. As far as there being businesses and nobody knows about them because they're not advertising, I don't know if we could create some sort of like small business directory that tells you the hours, because many of the places I've tried to stop at, they just aren't open at the times that I go through there.
I totally agree with you. I think they're like I said, I think they're their own worst enemies sometimes when it comes to like posting a schedule and sticking to it.
Yeah,
and that's an idea that certainly we could encourage council to look at. The council does the borough does I think a really nice job in resurfacing the community newsletter. And I know many years ago, there was kind of a calendar that had a map in it that highlighted the local Crafton businesses. I know that, you know, at some point there's some of the church bulletins and things of that as well. But I know that calendar in its day really had a lot of people that were interested in it. So I wonder if that's something that we could encourage council to look into as part of its communication strategy, in line with, you know, it's one of the three major pillars of Thrive is communication, right? And I would say that that's a big piece of it. It's not just communicating what council's up to, that's important, but it's also communicating what what our town's capable of and what we're up to. So maybe that's a good place for that to land in terms of the communications priority underneath that Strive strategic plan.
Yeah, I've even seen, like, when I've traveled to places, you go to a hotel and they hand you a tiny little, or, you know, like a little more than a regular size sheet of paper map, and it tells you where a bunch of different businesses are in the area so that you can visit them while you're, you know, from out of town. I mean, if our own residents don't know what's there, something like that would definitely be very strategic to be able to keep the businesses here and maybe bring more in.
Yeah. A welcome wagon for communities and businesses would certainly be in order.
That has been done over the years, sometimes sponsored by the realtors in the borough. I mean, that might be the way to go. It's also, you keep mentioning the Rotary. It seems like we have a very active Rotary. Aren't those all business owners, right? Is that how that works?
That's right.
Yeah, I just wonder, you know, maybe that's another group to bring in for your vision. Or your I mean, because if they are the business owners in the town, you know, it would be interesting to get their perspective on things.
I couldn't agree with you more. And Mary, I think you hit it right on the head. You know, one of the things that my takeaway of you know, why are we here on a Wednesday night at 8:30? Is because, you know, we see an opportunity, and we see, you know, obviously we see a lot of good things in Crafton, and we also share what a collective vision can be to improve on it. And those are stakeholders, council, getting council to actively participate. You know, would love to see that in these community vision workshops, not about governing and policy,
Right.
but around, hey, what are our ideas and what can we all put our heads together to make better? I know the Rotary's come up in a couple of conversations. Specifically, the last Planning Commission meeting that we had was a joint meeting that we do. I don't know if everyone knows this, that we do with Ingram. Now, I don't know who started that, but I think it's a tremendously productive idea. And the Rotary is one of the organizations that was specifically brought up as, you know, that is a stakeholder who needs engaged. And you know, quite frankly, I don't know that they know about the visioning document, about these sessions, and that's what we're asking each of you is to, you know, we're asking you as the initial flock to go tell others, take the survey, come to the website, use the feedback form, engage. Good ideas are very welcome. Negative ideas, we'll do what we can, but everybody's voice needs to be heard. And again, it's no longer about transparency. That's not our role. It's about collaboration and getting all of our input together so we can sing from that same choir sheet. So with that in mind, we have a couple of slides and only a few minutes. I want to move forward. However, I know that Elaine, your hand's up, but did we get to you? Are we having muting issues? You tell us.
I actually was not able to unmute myself. I kept saying the host had to unmute, but finally that happened. I just wanted to address the fact that one of the pillars of your vision is the deteriorating properties. And I think that I was on a committee with Rich about the blight in the community, and it seems that We still have a lot of issues in the community around that, though I have found in my walking that a lot of people are taking pride in their properties. But I think that that's an issue within the Crafton area, that there is still a lot of blight. There's still a lot of vacancy, and it still is something that brings down the whole community itself. And while it hasn't been fully addressed by the powers of being, it's still, it's still a problem, and I'm hoping it's still on someone's radar.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Elaine, I couldn't agree with you more. I live next to one of those situations myself, we have to continue to remind council that Thrive wasn't a whim. Thrive is the strategic vision. It's a 10-year vision for this town, and we need to expect some activity around it. And blight is one of the areas that I think that of all the good things that have happened, the grants that have poured in, the amount of grants that have been $4 million budget, $8 million in grants, unbelievable. I don't know if that happens in the state of Pennsylvania, but I know it doesn't happen often. But I think blight is one of those levers, of those 4 central levers in the comprehensive plan and Thrive. I think that is one that we may all be well suited to push our council reps to lean over their skis and take a little bit more seriously, because it seems like it's something that we can be doing more around. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely.
It's also something we can address from multiple fronts, because there's a way to address deteriorating properties from the borough side and do something about demolishing or acquiring or helping to maintain and deal with properties that way. But another way that all residents can help out with is just other things that we do to improve our community and to instill pride, give everyone more reason to maintain their properties or to sell their properties. Everything that we do in the community builds up the whole community as a whole. And so in a roundabout way, all of these moves that we make are going to make us progress in a forward motion and make us better.
Awesome. Well, it comes to that time where we thank you all. I wanted to a couple of things here in a matter of housekeeping. We do meet as a planning commission on the 4th Tuesday of every month. I'm going to bring up the website, make sure everyone knows how to navigate there to join the Zoom. It's open to the public, and we encourage the feedback. It's not just the visioning workshops. We'd like to do more of this. And this is not just talking. We're actively trying to turn this into a message, turn this into something actionable, turn this into a to-do list, and then get it done. We have an ask of you for coming out tonight. The biggest ask was coming. So you passed that one with flying colors. But the 3 things, what we want you to do is talk to your neighbor. Tell your neighbor that this is a thing. They probably don't know about it, and that's okay. We're doing our best to. How do you advertise? Get the word out. We want to hear your voice. Come to the upcoming workshops and take the survey. I will say that we've had a multiple of 5 times the response rate here in the past 48 hours. So I think it was mentioned a couple of times around the community. It's amazing the upticks that we see. So when you come to the homepage of Crafton and you go to the community visioning section, you'll be able to see this. The survey is right here for you to take, for you to launch and participate. It takes, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. Hopefully it's a pretty good experience. So with that in mind, our goal is to really publish some findings from it, get your feedback on it, make sure that we're on track and asking the right questions in support of you. You can always come to the community website as well. I think that was something that Lydia had brought up. If you simply scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can actually tell us what it is. This is not a garbage can. This is something that we take seriously. We read. We want to know what your feedback is. So as we put together more of these sessions and gather more of your input and tackle some of these things like the code, like the Planning Commission is taking on the Crafton Boulevard streetscape in Alcazam, and obviously the big one that everyone wants to talk about is the detail about the well, we say Linden property, Linden Avenue, next to I guess what is that, Walgreens, where the old Crafton School District football stadium was back before it was Carlinton. So that's the property. The school district owns it. We have we're the blocker. We're in their way for what they would like to do, but we don't look at it as being a blocker. We're just trying to collaborate and come up with the best plan. We'd love to see the school board here. We'd love to see the council here, but we're really appreciative that you were able to come here tonight. So with that, we're going to sign off, and thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, I guess we will do a wrap up. I thought I'd stay on just for a minute anyways. We've lost
Eric.
Colton and Eric already, so.
You paused or stopped the recording.
So that's fine.
Did you pause or stop the recording?